hope I can make this work. Sweet. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. My name is Melonie Fullick, and I'm a PhD student in the education program at York University. And today I'm going to talk about how academics are using some of those media that we've already heard talked about earlier today, social media. So what do we mean when we say social media? These are unlike newspapers, TV, and those kinds of one-to-many media. Social media are very interactive. They're based generally online, they're networked, and they're all about user participation and user sharing. So we have Facebook, YouTube, blogging, and I'm going to talk today about microblogging and blogging. So what are academics doing already with social media? Well, we are already enhancing our own work and enhancing the public discourse and the academic conversation by using these tools to connect with other people. But how are we doing that? Knowledge translation, very important concept where we are taking academic knowledge and making it more accessible to the public. So the academic mode of communication tends to be very different from the way that people communicate using social media. It tends to be slower, it takes longer to produce, and it doesn't tend to really invite people into the conversation unless they are other academics who understand the form. So this is a great example of something that you probably won't understand, which is not meant to be an insult to your intelligence, it's just that, it's not very clearly written. But, the social media mode is quite different. It's very immediate, it's often quite short. That's my little translation of what you just read. Using the language of Twitter, I have tagged somebody else who's interested in that topic, and I've tagged a conversation that's happening on Twitter so that people can see that conversation and they can participate. Here's an example of microblogging. Twitter is a tool where you can use, as you've already seen, no more than 140 characters to say something, and you can share it with other people, and there's a certain syntax involved with that. This is a tweet about something I was researching. And here's an example of a tweet stream. One of the things you'll hear about Twitter all the time, I hear it all the time, is I don't care about what people had for lunch. And as you can see, there are no tweets about lunch in this tweet stream. But there is a tweet about Foucault. And so I just wanted to point out that Twitter is more than people talking about their pets, which of course I love to do, and talking about lunch. So blogging is another great form that a lot of academics are taking up. They are using these short focused posts on a personal site to discuss their research or other issues relevant to the field, as you can see in this example here, which is from a Canadian academic at UBC. So what are we actually doing with these social media that are benefiting us as academics and also helping to open up the conversation about academic work with the public? Well, we're meeting new people, which is really important. You can help to develop new audiences for your academic work. You can begin to, it's sort of like being in a crowded room, rubbing shoulders with a lot of different people. It's not just academics, it's not just teachers, it's all kinds of people who have no connection to the research that we're doing, and yet they have an interest in it, and they can see what we're doing in a much more public way. So this is just a little example using the TEDx symbol of a map of people and tags that are connected to the TEDx event on Twitter. So we're engaging students as well with new technologies. We have professors using blogs as student projects, to learn how to write and to learn how to write in public with an audience who is going to comment on your work. And this is an example of a blog from the United States from a professor who teaches first-year composition. Sharing research, very important, especially at a time when there is a great debate happening about the limits of accessibility of knowledge. So this is a little plug for me. It's my blog. I wanted to mention this post because it went viral, and now it has about 66 comments. And so this is actually an aspect of my research, and a lot of people read this post, many, many more than if I had just created an academic article and gone through that process. Another example, my research hashtag, where people on Twitter had 140 characters less than the tag, including the tag, to describe their own research. And I did this myself, and I had some great responses from all kinds of interesting people. Gaining resources and support from others, very important. And the example I'm going to show is actually my favorite. This is PhD chat. So PhD students all over the world are participating in this. And they are choosing the topic they want to talk about. And here's a tweet stream example of how when you add that tag, everybody who searches for that tag can find all the tweets in that conversation, and then they can participate and they can respond. So this is also very important. There is a kind of a meta conversation happening about the university itself and about academia itself, that people are actually engaging in this conversation on social media as well. So it's about conditions of work and also transmission of knowledge. So a little conversation, you can start. I had somebody respond to my comment, and I had a little back and forth, and you can see that a couple of people reposted my comment because they agreed with it or found it interesting. So this is a very accessible way of coming in contact with new people and beginning to make those new connections. So there are, of course, some things about using social media that are not necessarily positive. For one thing, academics are used to having control over the conversation. And the best social media conversations happen generally where there's no control over the conversation. And so there's a big clash between those two kind of modes of operating. And perhaps you'll feel discomfort in dealing with questions or dealing with perspectives that you don't want to. And of course, other bad things can happen too. Your account can get hacked. Wonderful thing. Never had it happen myself, I'm lucky. But there are plenty of examples of that happening. So there are kind of psychological and technical things that we need to deal with when we're opening ourselves up using social media. So where is the impact really happening in all of this? It's happening because knowledge is something that benefits, in my opinion, and innovation benefits from more of the free flow of ideas and more interaction between different people, different actors, different academics in this kind of communicative sphere. And so it's good. It's good for innovation. It's good for thinking about change and talking about change. And I think that opening up the conversation about education is very important because the university is getting a lot more attention than it used to in the media. And a lot of that coverage is actually negative. And I think that even just by saying in public, engaging in public in these discussions, that we help to create a different picture for publics of what the university does and who people are as academics and why we have value and why we can help share that with other audiences. Thank you very much.